One seemingly ordinary evening at a small diner turned into a life-changing moment for Amanda, a young waitress struggling to navigate life's challenges. When Shaquille O'Neal, the legendary basketball icon, with his commanding presence stepped in, he did not just order a meal, he left behind a piece of paper. Its contents moved Amanda to tears. Not just from surprise, but because it transformed everything. The story reveals the power of kindness, and how it can turn hope into reality. Where are you watching from? Share your thoughts and subscribe to the channel, so you do not miss more heartwarming stories that touch the soul. Amanda bent down to adjust her worn apron, her hands deftly clearing crumbs from the tables and gathering leftover coffee cups. The small roadside diner in a quiet Georgia town was not anything special, but for her it was her entire world. This was not just her job, it was her lifeline. The place that kept her anchored through life's storms. At 26, Amanda had endured more than she ever thought a person could bear. As the single mother of 6-year-old Noah, a boy with wide innocent eyes, she knew she could not afford to falter. Every morning as Noah slept soundly, curled up on his tiny bed, Amanda left the house early, determined to make ends meet. Every penny she earned went toward paying rent on their small apartment, buying books and clothes for Noah, and ensuring he always had a warm meal. When Noah smiled, it was the light of her life. But when he asked Mommy, "Why is not our house like my friend's house?" Amanda could only smile, suppressing the sharp ache in her heart. She did not have the perfect answer, but she knew she had to do everything in her power to ensure he never felt deprived. Amanda's work days stretched from early morning until late at night, her aching feet never stopping her from flashing a smile at her customers. That smile was her armor, concealing the exhaustion and weariness that gnawed at her daily. She understood that no matter how tired she was, she could not stop. No one needed her. At the end of the day, when Amanda returned to their small apartment, Noah would run to her, his tiny arms wrapping around her neck as he squealed, "You're home, Mommy?" In those moments all her fatigue melted away, leaving only love and hope. But nighttime was when the weight of her reality bore down on her. Bills stacked up on the kitchen table, the steady drip of a leaky faucet she could not afford to fix, and her relentless worries about Noah's future kept her awake. "I cannot give up," Amanda whispered to herself. "No one needs me, he needs me to be strong." During her rare breaks at the diner, Amanda would sit in the corner of the kitchen, clutching a cheap cup of coffee in her hands. She'd reflect on her journey, remembering her late parents' words, "Life will test you, but do not let it defeat you." Amanda knew that if she did not keep going, Noah would lose the only stability he had. So every morning Amanda pushed herself to get up, shake off her exhaustion, tie her worn apron and smile at the world. Noah was her reason to fight, and just seeing his little grin reminded her that all her efforts were worth it. The small bell on the cafe door chimed, pulling Amanda back to reality. She had just finished cleaning a table by the window, her hands swiftly wiping away the scattered coffee stains. The evening had fallen, the outside world was quiet, illuminated only by the soft glow of street lights reflecting on the empty road. Inside, a few regulars were still murmuring over their half-empty cups. Amanda glanced up, habitually preparing to deliver a polite greeting, but the words caught in her throat. The man who had just walked in was impossible to overlook. Tall, broad-shouldered and clad in simple jeans and a shirt, he wore sneakers so large they were hard to ignore. But it was not his casual attire that caused Amanda and the entire small cafe to fall silent. It was his presence. Confident without being ostentatious. Humble yet exuding an almost magnetic charisma. Shaquille O'Neal, you did not need to be a die-hard basketball fan to recognize him instantly. A basketball legend who had once dominated giant screens. Shaq symbolized greatness, success and unrelenting strength. Amanda could not help but recall the evening she had spent with her father, sitting in front of their small TV at home, watching games. Her father would cheer passionately and explain every powerful dunk Shaq made. A wave of memories flooded her mind. Her father had always believed in the value of effort. He often said, "See Shaq. It's not just because he's big that he's successful. He succeeds because he never gives up." Those were the words he would whisper during moments they shared, watching Shaq's powerful shots. Amanda took a deep breath, trying to hold back the emotions that surged within her. She did not want anyone to notice her unease, especially as Shaq made his way to an empty table in the corner of the cafe. Shaq nodded politely to a few other customers, flashing a friendly smile. Yet his demeanor seemed to command the room, leaving everyone momentarily breathless. Amanda felt the air grow heavy, as every gaze in the cafe followed his every move. She closed her eyes for a moment, studying herself with her notepad and pen in hand. Her legs seemed to move on their own, toward the corner table. As she drew closer, she noticed details she had only seen on TV before. His large, strong hands, his calm yet piercing eyes, and something unmistakably approachable, as if he were entirely at ease in this small, humble space. "Good evening," Amanda began, her voice soft but betraying a hint of nervousness. "What can I get for you?" Shaq looked up, his eyes meeting hers. The small smile on his face was not overly broad, but it radiated warmth. "Good evening," he replied, his voice deep and deliberate. "I'll take a burger medium-sized. No cheese and a black coffee. Keep it simple." Amanda jotted down his order, trying to keep her hands from trembling. It was an ordinary order, yet from this man, it seemed to carry an extraordinary weight. She could not help but wonder, why would a legend like Shaq show up at a small cafe like this, in the middle of this quiet town? He could dine at any luxurious restaurant. So why here right away, sir? Amanda responded with a faint smile. She turned quickly, but not before sneaking another glance at him. Shaq had already lowered his head to check his phone, seemingly unaware of the ripple effect his presence had caused. As Amanda stepped into the kitchen to place the order, her mind was racing with questions. There was something about the way he looked at her. Not a scrutinizing or curious gaze, like the regular customers sometimes gave her as a young waitress, but a thoughtful attention. As if he had noticed something in her that even she had not realized. "Shaquille O'Neal," she murmured, almost unable to believe it. Someone like him, why would he choose this tiny cafe? Little did Amanda know this seemingly ordinary evening was about to become a moment she would remember for the rest of her life. Amanda returned to the counter after taking Shaq's order. Her heart was still racing, but she tried to steady her breathing, reassuring herself that he was just another customer. She prepared his black coffee, her hands trembling slightly as she poured it into the familiar ceramic cup. "Calm down, Amanda," she told herself, regaining her composure before walking back to his table. Shaq sat leaning back in his chair, one hand propping up his chin, his eyes gazing out the window as if deep in thought. When he noticed Amanda approaching, he turned, his expression softening under the warm, golden light of the cafe. Amanda placed the cup of coffee in front of him, offering a gentle smile. "Thank you," he said, his voice deep and warm. "Do you need anything else?" Amanda asked, maintaining a polite, professional tone, doing her best to hide the nervous flutter in her chest. Shock looked at her for a moment, as if considering something, and then asked, "Is it a busy night?" Amanda was taken aback. She was not used to customers, especially ones who were not regulars, asking about her work situation. "Not too busy," she replied, keeping her smile friendly. "Evenings like this are usually quieter, but we always have to stay ready." Jack nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. "I can see you work hard walking by the cafe earlier. I noticed how you move between tables. Quick but not rushed, friendly but not overbearing. Not everyone can maintain that energy after a long day." Amanda blushed, caught off guard. She was not accustomed to receiving compliments, especially from someone of his stature. Most customers focused on the food and service, rarely noticing the effort she put into her work. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but sincere. "I just try to do my best." Shaq chuckled lightly, a satisfied look in his eyes. "That's good. I've met a lot of people in the service industry. It's not easy to keep that kind of spirit." Amanda felt a bit flustered by the unexpected attention, but something in Shaq's tone and gaze made her feel at ease. It was not a basketball legend sitting in front of her anymore. It was a real person, someone genuine, with thoughtful observations and heartfelt emotions. "I guess you've been to a lot of places and met a lot of people," Amanda said, trying to keep the conversation going, drawn in by the warmth he exuded. "This little diner might not be as impressive as some of the other places." Shaq laughed, a deep, resonant sound. "Not everything has to be flashy to leave an impression. I think this place is special. Like you said, it's not too busy, but you can see the effort everyone puts in." His response made Amanda feel an unexpected sense of pride in her job, a feeling she had not experienced in a long time. But she could not help wondering why someone like him would pay such close attention to her. Shaq seemed to sense her curiosity. "Do not mind me," he said, as if reading her thoughts. "It's just that an old guy like me sometimes likes to notice the little things. They tell you more than you'd think." Amanda smiled softly. "Sometimes the little things are the most important." Shaq looked at her thoughtfully, as if weighing the significance of her words. "You're right, and it's those little things that will take you further than you imagine." Before Amanda could respond, the chef called out from the kitchen, announcing that Shaq's burger was ready. Excusing herself, she walked away, her heart beating faster, not just from nervousness, but because the brief conversation had stirred something strange within her. A feeling of being seen, of being understood. "He's so different," she thought, as she carried the plate of food back to Shock. Amanda did not yet know that this conversation was only the beginning of a fateful night, one that would change her life forever. Amanda walked quickly back to the counter, after serving a burger and cup of coffee to Shaquille O'Neal. She lowered her head, checking her notebook, but her mind wandered back to their brief conversation. His simple words still echoed in her mind, as if they held a deeper meaning she had yet to grasp. Shaq sat in the corner of the diner, relaxed yet commanding, an undeniable presence. He ate slowly, occasionally sipping his coffee, his thoughtful eyes gazing into the distance. Yet from time to time those eyes returned to Amanda, observing her movements as she moved between tables. It was not a scrutinizing or curious gaze, but rather one that seemed to be searching for something, or trying to understand the person in front of him. Amanda could feel his gaze, even if it lasted only seconds. But every time it did, she felt as if she was being seen through. It was strange but not unsettling. There was a gentleness and profound empathy in his eyes, as if he understood more than she had ever shared with anyone. She leaned on the counter, wiping away water droplets from the wooden surface, trying to ignore the uneased stirring inside her. Why is he paying attention to me? Is not he just passing through, on his way to somewhere far away? Amanda wondered. She glanced over at Shaq once more, seeing him carefully slicing his burger, his powerful hands moving gently and deliberately. The diner remained quiet. The other patrons seemed to have grown accustomed to Shaq's presence, no longer whispering as they had when he first arrived. A few stole glances at him, but no one dared to disturb him. This only deepened Amanda's curiosity. She had encountered all kinds of customers. Rushed professionals, entitled individuals with excessive demands. But Shaq was unlike anyone else. He seemed to be waiting for something, or deliberately extending his time here. Amanda shook her head, trying to focus on her work. But questions kept swirling in her mind. Why would a star like him come to this small diner? And why does he seem to be paying special attention to me? She thought of her father, of the nights they spent sitting in the old, worn-out chair watching Shaq's every shot on the court. Her father used to say that Shaq was not just a great athlete. He had a big heart. That's why he's always at the top. Her father once said not just because of his strength, but because of how he uses it to lift others up. Those words echoed in her mind now, making her wonder if Shaq's unusual presence tonight was somehow tied to those very qualities. Shaq finished his burger and took another sip of his coffee, but he remained seated, showing no urgency to leave. His eyes landed on Amanda once again, as if weighing something in his mind. Amanda felt his gaze but did not turn away. This time, she glanced back, and their eyes met for a fleeting moment. Shaq offered a small smile, saying nothing, but there was encouragement in his expression that Amanda could not fully comprehend. She quickly looked away, her heart beating faster. It felt as though he had seen something in her that she had never acknowledged within herself, a struggle awareness, but also a faint glimmer of hope. The evening grew quieter. The remaining customers began to leave, leaving the diner feeling emptier. Amanda busied herself clearing tables, her gaze unconsciously drifting back to the corner where Shaq sat, his coffee nearly finished. She could not guess what he was thinking, but one thing was certain. His presence was not random. Maybe he sees more than I think, she thought, sensing that something significant was about to unfold. What Amanda did not know was that the meaningful gaze he had given her was just the beginning of an unexpected change in her life. Amanda had just finished cleaning the last table when Shaq suddenly raised a hand to signal her over. He sat there, his towering figure almost engulfed in the corner booth, yet his face carried an inexplicable calm. His coffee cup was empty, and only a few crumbs of bread remained on the burger plate. Amanda took a deep breath, striving to maintain her professional demeanor as she approached. "Thank you for stopping by." "Was everything okay?" Amanda asked, keeping her tone steady. Shaq looked up, his warm eyes meeting hers. He smiled, a simple but genuinely kind smile that instantly put Amanda at ease. "Everything was perfect," he replied, his deep voice resonating Then he emphasized, "That was the best burger I've ever had." Amanda chuckled softly, her smile tinged with surprise. "Thank you. I'm sure our chef will be thrilled to hear that." "It's not just the burger," Shaq continued, his voice slow yet carrying a certain weight. "It's how you serve. You do not just bring food to the table. You bring positive energy with it. That's not easy to do, especially when life is not always kind." His words made Amanda freeze for a moment. She had never imagined that anyone, let alone someone as famous as Shaq, could perceive the struggle she carried. But his gaze was not pitying. It was empathetic, as if he'd seen such things before in another place, under different circumstances. Shaq pulled out a few bills, arranging them neatly on the table. Then he handed Amanda a small folded note saying, "Keep the change, and read this when you have some free time." Amanda blinked, confused as she looked at the note in his hand. "Are you sure? This seems like way more than the cost of your meal." Jack smiled, his eyes sparkling like light, reflecting off the cafe's glass windows. "I'm sure consider it a thank you from me." Without waiting for further questions, he stood up, gave her a slight nod, and walked out. Amanda stood there, watching his broad figure disappear through the door. The soft chime of the bell marked his exit, and the door closed, taking with it the unique atmosphere he had brought. Amanda looked down at the folded note in her hand. Her heart raced, as a mix of confusion and anticipation washed over her. She could not explain why his words carried such profound weight. Quietly she returned to the counter, her hands trembling as she considered opening the small note. But she stopped herself. "I need to finish my work first," she told herself, tucking the note into her apron pocket. She tried to stay composed, but her mind kept replaying his final words. "Read this when you have some free time." Amanda wondered, what could this note possibly change? Part of her wanted to open it immediately, but another part hesitated, afraid of what it might contain. Shaq's eyes, his attentiveness, and his words seemed to hold more than just the polite manners of a guest. As the cafe gradually settled into its usual quiet rhythm, Amanda leaned against the counter, the note still burning like a secret in her pocket. It was not mere curiosity. It felt like the note held something deeper, something far beyond anything she could have imagined. The diner gradually fell into silence. After Shaq left, Amanda busied herself cleaning up the remaining tables, but her mind was scattered. The small piece of paper in her apron pocket felt like a smoldering ember, filling her with both anticipation and curiosity. What had Shaq written, and why had he left it for her? As she finished her tasks, Amanda stole a moment. In the small break room at the back, she sat down on the worn wooden chair, took a deep breath, and pulled the note from her pocket. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the paper, her heart pounding heavily with each beat. The handwriting was steady and strong, each word seeming to reach deep into her soul. "Amanda, I see how hard you work, spreading positive energy to those around you, even while carrying burdens you likely have not shared. You remind me of someone very special, someone who once taught me that patience and perseverance can change everything. I do not know your full story, but I see a rare strength in you. This is a small gift. Use it however you see fit. For yourself, for your son, or for dreams you thought were out of reach. People like you deserve to be seen, and I see you." Amanda read the words, her eyes wide with disbelief. Her hand shook even more as she noticed another item folded within the note. Carefully she pulled it out, and for a moment time stood still. It was a check for 10,000. Amanda froze, her breath caught in her throat. Then she whispered, "This cannot be real." She stared at the check, as if it might disappear before her eyes. The amount was staggering, so far removed from the daily struggles of her life. A wave of dizziness swept over her. And then the tears came, rolling down her cheeks in an unstoppable stream. She was not crying because of the money, though it could undoubtedly change her and Noah's lives forever. She cried because of the words in the note. Shaq's encouragement from someone she barely knew carried a weight she had not realized she needed. He had seen her, a simple woman worn down by life's relentless grind. And not only had he noticed her, but he had also recognized her efforts and sacrifices. Amanda held the check in her trembling hands. So overwhelmed she had to place it on the table. She covered her face with her hands, trying to calm herself, but the tears kept falling. For years she'd been accustomed to being strong, facing everything alone for the first time in so long. She felt less alone. Someone truly cared, truly saw what she had been through. She thought of Shaq's eyes, the sincerity in his words, and realized this was not just chance. He had chosen to help her, not because she was extraordinary or stood out, but because he valued what she was doing. That realization made the gift all the more profound. Amanda sat there, her heart swelling with gratitude. The check before her was like a key, opening doors she had not dared to dream of. But more importantly, Shaq's words had awakened something she had forgotten, a belief in herself and in the future. She wiped her tears, picked up the note and read it again. Save her in every word. People like you deserve to be seen. The phrase echoed in her mind, a gentle melody reminding her that she was not invisible, that her efforts had not been in vain. That night Amanda sat quietly in the break room. The warm glow of the yellow light, casting a soft halo over the table. The check and the note lay before her. She knew that everything would change, not just because of the money, but because of the feeling of being seen, being acknowledged. And above all, she realized that she was not just surviving anymore. For the first time in years, she could begin to hope, to dream again. Amanda sat quietly in the break room, her gaze fixed on the check and the piece of paper, as if they were fragile, things that could vanish at any moment. Emotions surged within her, a complex mix of joy, disbelief, and a tinge of fear. She needed someone to share this with, someone she could trust. Amanda's mind instantly went to Rachel, her best friend, the one who had stood by her through her toughest times. Without hesitation, she picked up her phone and dialed Rachel's number. "Rachel, can you come to the cafe right now?" "It's really important," Amanda said, her voice trembling but unmistakably urgent. "Are you okay? What's going on?" Rachel asked, concern evident in her tone. "I'm fine, but also not really. I just need you here. I cannot explain it over the phone." Rachel did not need any more convincing. Less than 20 minutes later, the break room door swung open and Rachel walked in, her face full of worry. "Amanda, what happened?" she asked, pulling out a chair to sit across from her. Amanda remained silent for a few seconds, her eyes shimmering as if she was about to cry again. She picked up the note and the check from the table, sliding them toward Rachel without a word. Rachel frowned slightly, taking the note and reading it. Each word seemed to come into sharp focus, and by the time she reached the end, she froze, Old. Rachel whispered, covering her mouth with her hand. She picked up the check, her eyes widening, and then turned to Amanda. You're telling me this is from Shaquille O'Neal? Basketball legend Shaq. Amanda nodded, her eyes shining with both emotion and apprehension. Yes, he came into the cafe tonight. Sat over there in the corner. And then he left this. Rachel set the check down on the table, her gaze locking onto Amanda's. Do you realize what this means, Amanda? This is not just money. This is a chance to change your life. A fresh start for you, and no. Amanda bowed her head, her hands clasped together, as if searching for answers in her palms. I know, but I do not understand why. Why me? I'm just an ordinary person working as a waitress. I have not done anything special. Rachel placed a comforting hand on Amanda's shoulder and gave it a gentle squeeze. Amanda, listen to me. You do not have to do anything extraordinary to deserve this, what you do every single day. Working hard, raising no. Facing every challenge without giving up. That's what makes you deserving. You may not see it, but Shaq did. And you need to believe that you are worthy. Tears streamed down Amanda's face as she looked up. But I'm scared I'll mess this up. That I'll waste this opportunity. Rachel smiled warmly. You will not mess anything up, Amanda. You're someone who always puts no first. Someone who's always trying to make things better. Shaq trusted you. He saw what the rest of the world should see in you. This is not luck, Amanda. This is kindness finding its rightful place. Rachel's words felt like a breeze, blowing away the heavy doubts weighing Amanda down. She sat up straighter, took a deep breath, and nodded. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should stop doubting myself and focus on using this gift to do something good. Rachel laughed, her eyes sparkling. That's the Amanda I know. You can start with something you've always dreamed of, or create new opportunities for no. What matters is that you believe in your worth. Amanda nodded, feeling an unexpected lightness within her. The check on the table was no longer just a financial gift. It was a symbol of hope, of trust. From a stranger who had seen her for who she was. For the first time in what felt like forever, Amanda believed she could achieve anything. Rachel looked at her friend with pride and asked, All right, so what's the first plan? What do you want to do next? Amanda clenched the check in her hand, her eyes glowing with determination. I'm not sure where to start, but I know I'll do something meaningful, and I will not waste this kindness. Rachel took her hand, and they shared a look filled with unshakable hope. That night in the small break room, Amanda did not just share her joy. She rediscovered the confidence and faith in herself that she thought she had lost. As dawn's light streamed through the small window of her apartment, Amanda sat quietly at the kitchen table. In front of her lay Shaq's check and a slip of paper with inspirational words scribbled on it. Her eyes were shadowed by the fatigue of a sleepless night, yet deep within her something unfamiliar stirred. A fledgling sense of hope. She had spent the entire night thinking. She revisited every hardship she and No had endured, every meager paycheck she had painstakingly saved, and every dream she had been forced to put on hold. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to dream again. Not just for No, but for herself too. I cannot let this gift go to waste. Amanda resolved. She understood that the money was not just a way to address immediate concerns. It was an opportunity to build a sustainable future. A life that both she and No could take pride in. That morning Amanda decided to start with the basics. First, she used a portion of the money to pay off the mounting debts, the rent, utilities and other bills that had stolen countless nights of sleep. Next, she brought her old unreliable car to a repair shop. She no longer wanted to fear it breaking down in the middle of the road while taking No to school. But the most important step still lay ahead. Amanda had once dreamed of becoming an accountant. A career she believed could bring stability to their lives. However, life's relentless demands had forced her to put that dream on hold. Now, with Shaq's gift, she realized she could return to school. The following day, Amanda found herself standing in front of the gates of the local community college, a place she had passed by countless times, but never dared to enter. The large sign bearing the school's name gleamed in the morning sun, and Amanda felt as if she were standing at the threshold of a new chapter in her life. "I can do this," she whispered to herself, clutching her handbag tightly. But despite her resolve, her heart raced. As she walked through the crowded hallways, she could not recall the last time she had felt this mix of excitement and trepidation. At the admissions office, she was greeted by a middle-aged counselor with a warm smile. "Good morning, how can I help you?" the woman asked. Amanda took a deep breath, steadying her voice. "I'd like to enroll for accounting." The counselor nodded, her smile widening. "You've come to the right place. We have an excellent program for students who need to balance work and school. Let me guide you through the process." Amanda sat down carefully, filling out each form the counselor handed her. Her hands trembled slightly, but with each signature in each field she completed, she felt herself edging closer to her dream. The counselor explained the procedures, provided details about tuition and class schedules, and Amanda felt as though she was stepping into an entirely new world. As she left the admissions office, Amanda paused on the steps, gazing at the golden sunlight stretching out before her. Her heart was pounding, but it was not out of anxiety anymore. It was exhilaration, a hope she had not felt in a very long time. "This is not just the start of something for me," she thought. "This is how I can show No, that every dream is worth chasing, no matter how tough life gets." Amanda knew the road ahead would not be easy. She would have to juggle her studies, her job at the diner, and caring for No. But for the first time in years, she no longer felt trapped. Shaq's gift had not only changed her financial situation, but it also given her something far more valuable: belief in herself. With a lighter step in a heart full of determination, Amanda returned to her newly repaired car, ready to embrace the journey ahead. "Thank you, Shaq," she murmured. "You did not just see me. You helped me see myself." Amanda stepped into the small apartment, feeling a mix of exhaustion and excitement. Each step down the hallway felt lighter, as if the weight on her shoulders had lessened. The door closed behind her, and a familiar sound greeted her. No playing on the worn rug in front of the TV. The little boy turned his head, his eyes lighting up when he saw his mother. "Mom, you're home?" No exclaimed, dropping his toys and running to hug her. Amanda knelt down, wrapping her arms tightly around him. The warmth of No melted away all her fatigue. But today Amanda felt different. She was not just a mother fighting to get by. She was a mother about to embark on a new journey, a future she knew would profoundly shape her son's life. "No, I have something to tell you," she said, her gaze tender but filled with determination. "What is it, Mom?" No asked, looking up at her with curious eyes. Amanda sat down on the floor beside him, taking his small hand in hers. I've made a decision. I'm going back to school. I'm going to study accounting, just like I've always dreamed. No was silent for a few seconds, as if trying to grasp the full meaning of what his mom had just said. Then suddenly his face lit up. You're going to school like me? You're going to do homework? Amanda chuckled and nodded. That's right, sweetheart. I'll have to do homework and go to school just like you. But I'm doing this so I can give you a better life in the future. No looked at her with wide, sparkling eyes, then threw his arms around her unexpectedly. You're the best mom. I'm going to tell all my friends. My mom is going to be the best. No's words echoed in Amanda's heart, filling it with a simple yet profound joy. He was not just happy about her decision. He was genuinely proud of her, in a way she never imagined possible. That night after No had fallen asleep, Amanda sat at the kitchen table, the warm light casting a glow on the pages of notes she was jotting down. She made a list of everything she needed to do to prepare for school, from rearranging her shifts at the diner to finding someone to care for No while she attended classes. But deep down another thought was quietly taking root. No does not just need a mom with a better job, she thought. He needs to see that no matter how hard life gets, we can dream and work for what we want. Amanda realized that her actions were not just for herself or the financial future of their small family. They were a living lesson for Noah about perseverance, about never giving up, and about daring to dream, even when the odds seemed impossible. She recalled the pride in Noah's eyes when he spoke about her. He had seen her in a way she had not seen herself before. For the first time, Amanda felt she was not just surviving. She was setting an example for her son. In the days that followed, Amanda began preparing for school. No often sat beside her as she read through materials or took notes, sometimes pretending to do his own homework. Mom, can I be an accountant like you? He asked, his eyes shining. You can be anything you want to be, Amanda replied, smiling. As long as you try hard and never give up. No nodded enthusiastically, as if committed her words to memory. And Amanda knew that, no matter how challenging the road ahead might be, every step she took would be a living testament to her son that life could change as long as you dared to dream and worked hard to make it happen. Amanda sat at the kitchen table, flipping through the pages of her expense journal after paying off debts, repairing her old car, and preparing for her studies. She still had some of the money Shaq had left her. She knew this remaining amount could serve as a safety net for her and her son in the coming months, but deep within her, Amanda felt another call, a yearning to rise beyond herself. She recalled Shaq's gaze in the words in his note. Use it however you see fit. For yourself, for your son, or for the dreams you think you could never reach. It was not just a gift, it was a message of trust. A reminder that she had the strength to do good, not only for herself but for others too. The next day, on her way back from school, Amanda stopped by the local grocery store to pick up a few things for dinner. As she walked in, she noticed a young woman standing near the checkout counter holding a carton of milk, but staring intently at the price, as if weighing her options. Beside the woman was a little boy, not much older than No, clutching his mother's hand tightly. Amanda paused and observed. The woman eventually placed the milk on the counter and pulled a few crumpled bills from her wallet, but it still was not enough. The cashier looked at her sympathetically, but seemed unsure of how to help. Without hesitation, Amanda stepped forward. I'll cover it, she said, her voice gentle and reassuring. Before the woman could protest, Amanda handed over a few extra coins to complete the transaction. The young woman turned to her, her eyes brimming with gratitude. Thank you so much. I do not know what to say. There's no need to say anything, Amanda replied. Sometimes a little help can make all the difference. The woman smiled, tears welling in her eyes. Amanda watched her and the boy leaves the store, a feeling of lightness filling her heart. That small act of kindness, insignificant compared to the money she still had, brought her an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. From then on, Amanda began setting aside a small portion of the money to help others. One afternoon, upon hearing a co-worker at the diner talk about a high school student unable to pursue college because he could not afford textbooks, Amanda quietly purchased the books for him. On another occasion, she discreetly paid for an elderly diner's meal. Man who had been counting out coins to settle his bill. Each time she gave, Amanda thought of Shaq. If he believed in me, why should not I extend that belief to others? She realized that kindness was not just about receiving. It was about giving. Small actions that could ripple outward, just as Shaq's generosity had transformed her life. One evening after No had fallen asleep, Amanda sat at her desk, jotting down a few notes in a journal. She recorded each moment of kindness, not to boast, but to remind herself of the importance of giving. Shaq started a chain of positive reactions. She wrote, and now I'll continue that chain. Amanda did not know if the people she helped would remember her, but that did not matter. What she knew for certain was that kindness, no matter how small, had the power to change lives. And with each act of generosity, she felt herself moving closer to her own dream. Not just to be a strong mother, but to be someone who could bring hope to others. In that quiet, peaceful moment, Amanda felt a profound connection between Shaq, herself, and the people she had helped. It was an invisible but unbreakable chain, stretching and spreading, making the world a little better, one act at a time. The days that followed brought remarkable changes to Amanda's life. She learned to balance her part-time job at the diner with her university studies. The busy schedule no longer drained her as it once did. Instead, it infused her with newfound energy. Each morning, Amanda dropped Noah off at school before driving to her university classes. In the afternoon, she worked at the diner, and by evening she was back at the kitchen table, fully engrossed in her textbooks. Noah noticed the difference too. He did not just see his mom busier, he saw her happier and more radiant. The worry lines that had once marked Amanda's face gradually faded, replaced by a sense of hope. "Mom, you smile a lot more now," Noah remarked one day, as they tidied up his school books together. That simple comment made Amanda smile even more, filling her heart with warmth. Every day Amanda found reasons to be grateful. Not just for Shaq's generous gift, but for the small, meaningful steps she was making on her journey. Returning to college was a significant challenge. Yet each lecture and assignment brought her closer to her goals. One late evening after Noah had fallen asleep, Amanda sat at the kitchen table, under the soft glow of the yellow light. Her hands flipped through the pages of her notebook, but her eyes suddenly stopped on something hanging on the wall. It was the check Shaq had given her, now carefully framed as a vivid reminder of how an act of kindness had transformed her life. Amanda stood up and walked over to the framed check. She gently ran her hand over the protective glass, her gaze filled with emotion. Memories of that fateful night flooded her mind. Shaq's calm demeanor, his thoughtful eyes, and the encouraging words he had shared with her. The check was no longer just a financial gift. It had become a symbol of transformation, recognition and belief in her potential. Something she had doubted in herself for so long. Noah, too, was inspired by his mom's transformation. He began telling his school friends about the lessons his mom was learning, how she had gone back to college to chase her dreams. "My mom is amazing," he'd say with pride. "She does homework that's even harder than mine." Those innocent words reassured Amanda that she was on the right path. She was not just changing her own life. She was also creating a powerful example for her son. A mother who never gave up and always worked hard to improve. One day while cleaning the house, Amanda stumbled upon an old notebook she had used to write down her dreams when she was younger. As she flipped through the pages, she saw her handwritten goals from years ago. Become a professional accountant. Buy a small house for me and my son. Make a difference in the community. Amanda smiled, realizing she was moving in the right direction. The dreams she once thought life had buried were now slowly coming to life. Not through luck but through the faith Shaquille O'Neal had instilled in her, and the perseverance she rediscovered within herself. That evening, Amanda sat on the worn-out couch in the living room, watching Noah play on the floor. She glanced up at the framed check on the wall, and a thought crossed her mind. Shaq gave me a chance. Now it's my turn to turn that chance into something lasting. It was not just gratitude she felt. It was a sense of responsibility. Responsibility to continue this journey. Not only for herself but also for Noah and the people she could help in the future. Each new day reminded her that life could change when kindness is given and shared. Soft sunlight filtered through the small windows of the kitchen, casting a gentle glow on the cozy space. Amanda sat at the table, cradling a steaming cup of coffee in her hands, her gaze fixed on a framed check hanging on the wall. Every number and every letter on that check served as a poignant reminder that everything she had now was not merely luck, it was the result of perseverance, kindness and the trust someone had once placed in her. Amanda could not help but wonder, will Shaq ever come back to the diner? Every time the bell above the door jingled, she instinctively looked up, hoping to see the familiar silhouette of the tall, calm man. But whether he returned or not, Amanda knew he had become an inseparable part of her story. Amanda's life was now a journey of continuous growth. She still worked at the diner, but her approach to the job had changed. It was no longer about scraping by. It was about loving what she did and cherishing the opportunities it had brought her. Her college studies were also progressing steadily. Amanda found herself gaining confidence as she solved increasingly complex math problems, realizing that she truly had the potential to achieve dreams she once thought were out of reach. Noah, too, was happier than ever. The boy not only beamed with pride for his mother, but also grew stronger and more optimistic, inspired by the lessons he had learned from her resilience. One evening, as the two of them sat together on the couch, Noah turned to her and asked, "Mom, do you think I can do big things like you?" Amanda smiled, gently brushing her fingers through his soft hair. "Of course, no. You can do anything, as long as you believe in yourself and never give up." One night, as Amanda cleared the last table of her evening shift, she looked out the window. The dim street lights and the stillness of the street reminded her of that fateful night. The night Shaq walked into the diner, bringing light into her life. Her heart felt a gentle warmth as she recalled the message on the piece of paper. You deserve to be seen and appreciated. Now she truly understood the depth of those words. They were not just an acknowledgement from a famous figure, they were a universal truth. Everyone, no matter how big or small, strong or struggling, has inherent value. This realization had not only helped Amanda survive her darkest days, but also allowed her to thrive in ways she had never imagined. That peaceful night, Amanda returned home and sat down at her familiar desk. She opened a notebook, placed her pen on the blank page, and began to write. She documented her story from the days of hardship to the life-changing moment when Shaq walked into the diner. She wanted to preserve it all, not just as a reminder to herself, but also as a source of inspiration for Noah and anyone else searching for hope. When she finished the last sentence, Amanda looked up at the framed check on the wall, her heart overflowing with gratitude. Thank you, Shaq, she whispered as if he could hear her. You did not just see me, you helped me see myself. And I promise to keep spreading that light. Amanda closed the notebook, turned off the light, and walked toward Noah's room. She stood by his bed watching her son sleep peacefully, his face serene under the soft glow of the moonlight streaming through the window. In that moment, Amanda felt that everything was exactly as it should be. Her journey was not over, if anything. It had just begun. She knew challenges lay ahead, but she was no longer afraid. With the kindness Shaq had shown her, and the belief she had cultivated in herself, Amanda was ready to face whatever came her way. And she would not just live a better life. She would strive to make the world a better place, one small meaningful act at a time. Amanda's journey is a testament to the power of kindness and belief in a brighter future. From a simple yet profound moment, she found the strength to change not only her own life, but also inspire her son and those around her. Her story reminds us that sometimes, even the smallest act of kindness can create a ripple effect, spreading hope and faith far beyond what we can imagine. Have you ever received a gift or an act of kindness that changed your life? What would you do to pay that kindness forward? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your story. Do not forget to like and share this story with your loved ones, and subscribe to our channel to stay inspired with more uplifting tales. Thank you for joining us.